You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line, but we don't have any new callers today. So let's go ahead and get started with Beer Cheese Benny.
Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here. Listen, I'm actually pretty much getting sick of the whole the Tigers passed on Cooper DeJean. They selected Jordan Morgan instead. Like, when are people going to start realizing that literally every team passes up on a good player? You can go to any draft ever in the history of ever, okay? And you can look at it, and you can say, oh, this team passed on this guy. How stupid. This team passed on this guy. They're dumb. Like, literally, you could say that about any team. I'm not even kidding. And I'm thinking about it this year. Like, I feel like this year, there's going to be a lot of passing on good players. So, don't get all pissed off if we don't, draft this guy, that guy, the other guy, and we draft this guy. Because, honestly, it doesn't matter. It's all a gamble. People forget this, man. It's all a gamble. And what Gutekunst is trying to do is build the trenches. He's trying to build from within to the outside, right? And I respect that. And you know what? He can't control that Jordan Morgan was hurt. If he could, he wouldn't have drafted him. But he did because he can't control that kind of thing. And he was the best available offensive lineman at the time, really, to be honest. So just shut up about this whole, we're passing this guy, oh my God, because you're just going to be unhappy every single draft if you do that. I'm not kidding. Like, you can be like, oh, man, well, I wish we really would have picked this guy. But you know what? Like, who knows, man? Maybe this guy, you just got to be more optimistic about it, bro. Like, just quit it, man. It really is starting to piss me off, man. Packers fans are so whiny. Can we stop being a whiny fan base? We're starting to sound like freaking, I don't know, like dummy Vikings and Bears fans or whoever, dude. Can we not be that way? All right, see ya.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was taken in the second round. So every single team passed on Cooper DeJean, right? And, I mean, let's look at some of the things that were done. First of all, the number one overall pick was Caleb Williams. That guy was a bad quarterback. Then they took Rome Odunze, who was not a very good wide receiver. The Jets at 11 took a tackle that was not very good. The Saints at 14 took a tackle that was not very good. The Vikings at 17 took a pass rusher in Dallas Turner that was not good. The Bengals at 18 took a tackle that was not good. All of these teams could have taken Cooper DeJean, by the way. At 20, the Steelers took a tackle that was not good. At 24, the Lions, this brilliant organization, took a corner that was dog crap. At 26, the Buccaneers took the guy, which I saw somebody say this, like the Jordan Morgan thing. They could have taken Graham Barton. Graham Barton was bad. Do you all understand that Graham Barton was bad? It's so funny because it's like when the draft happens, everybody assumes they know everything, right? Oh, why would you do that when you could have taken Graham Barton? Graham Barton's a better interior guy. Okay, well, you can play that game before you know things. Then when the season plays out and he's really bad, to still sit there and say, well, they could have taken Graham Barton. You don't. Good Lord, man. At 32, the Carolina Panthers took Xavier Legette, the wide receiver. Popular choice for the Packers, by the way. 497 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 59 PFF grade. Buffalo Bills took wide receiver Keon Coleman at pick 33. 578 yards, 4 touchdowns, 68 PFF grade. The Atlanta Falcons at 35 took Rook Arororo. He played in 8 games and had a 56 grade. At 36, Washington took Jerzon Newton, another guy that was seen as a freak that probably wouldn't even be there when the Packers picked. He fell to the second round, got taken by Washington, and had a 52 PFF grade. And the funny thing about it is, you don't know who's actually going to be good. We pretend to know. If Cooper DeJean was really bad, and let's just say he didn't even play, but Jerzon Newton popped off and was like the next freak defensive tackle, you know what would be happening? The exact same thing. The exact same thing, because we ignore all the bad and we just focus on the one guy that hit and say, see, everybody should have known. We all knew Cooper DeJean was going to be. We all knew. Yes, and we all knew Jerzon Newton was going to be great, except he's not. 52 PFF grades, 23 tackles and 2 sacks on 295 attempts. How about Kool-Aid McKinstry? Anybody hear much about him? Max Melton. Remember, everybody wanted Max Melton? What happened to Max Melton? What happened to Jackson Powers Johnson? How much did you hear about him? Or Jonathan Brooks? Or Tyler Nubin? We hear all these names. We get excited about all these names. What happened? Anybody want to still talk about these guys? No, we talk about the one guy that was a really good rookie, and then we pretend that 31 teams picked him except the Packers. Packers are so incompetent for not picking him. Packers are so stupid. No, it's not 31 teams picked him. One team picked him. The other teams passed on him and picked somebody else. By the way, 5 picks later, the Packers took Edgerrin Cooper. So would you please shut the hell up? You're so obnoxious.
Hey, Ryan. Zach in Buffalo, man.
What's up?
Been a while. Hey, I got a couple questions for you. I hate filling up your voicemail box here with maybe useless questions, but
You're good,
it's
dude.
off season, so I figured maybe give you something to talk about. Not that you don't have enough, but so I've got 4 positions here that I would argue are definitely of need for us, and what I believe are the top 4 free agents as of now listed on Spotrac.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read you the names on the positions, and if you could, please, maybe break down the names and see who you like and who you don't like and why. Also, this is experiment here is with no cap involved. Just if you could
No
pick
cap,
one
yo.
out of these 4 for each position, who would it be and why? Thanks, man. So wide receiver, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, T. Higgins, and Keenan Allen. For outside linebacker, you have Matthew Judon, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, and Zach Bond.
Slow down.
The Eagles
Slow
let him go.
down. I can't. Oh,
You got
go ahead.
cornerback,
I'll have to
Carlton
come
Davis,
back to it.
Travarius Ward, DJ Reed, and Byron Murphy. And then for D-line, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, Josh Sweat, B.J. Hill, and Chase Young. I really appreciate it, man. Again, if this is, if it's too time consuming, then don't feel bad about not doing it. Or if you feel like you've covered it, enough, I appreciate it, man. I was just looking and figured I'd ask Pack Daddy himself. So thanks, man. Have a good one. Go Pack, go.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a off the top of my head kind of a thing as opposed to a full exhaustive look into it, but take it for what it's worth. It's entirely possible I would change my mind if I dug a little deeper. So for wide receiver, Keenan Allen's a no. He's 33 years old. You mentioned Mike Evans. I'm thinking maybe you meant Mike Williams. Mike Evans has 1 more year left on his contract. He's not a free agent. Maybe they're working on something with him. I'm not entirely sure. I know they're trying to work on some kind of a contract extension, so possibly he will end up being a trade candidate. But let's assume you meant Mike Williams, and I'll just say no to that as well. 30 years old, and I don't... So it'd be between Chris Godwin and T. Higgins. T. Higgins has the injury issues. I just think it's a significantly better option. Only 26 years old, and I think is that kind of fits the prototypical mold of what the Packers are probably looking for. Edge, you mentioned Judon, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, and Zach Bond. I think you said Zach Bond. Zach Bond's more of an inside linebacker. Hassan Reddick is a little weird because of that whole situation with the Jets. It just kind of freaks me out a little bit. He's also a smaller guy at 240 pounds, and he just cracked 30 years old. He had a bad season with the Jets. He's really only had a couple good seasons, and that was when he was with Philadelphia, so I don't really want Hassan Reddick. And Judon also was dog crap this past year. He had a 43 PFF grade, 25 pressures on 328 attempts. So that's an easy one for me. I'd take Khalil Mack. He's the oldest, but not by a ton. Again, Hassan Reddick is 30 and can't handle it at his size and everything else. Judon, likewise, I don't think is a freak that's going to survive well into his 30s. He had as far as his PFF grades, he's had 2 good years ever. He's been in the league since 2016. He's had 3 double-digit sack seasons, but never really graded out very well. Khalil Mack is a freak. and I think he can handle. He's 33, going on 34, so he's like a year and a half older than Matt Judon, but I just think he can handle it. So I would easily take Khalil Mack. And then corner, you said Carlton Davis, Charvarius Ward, DJ Reed, Byron Murphy. So all of them are sub 30. Charvarius Ward is about to be 30. He's 29.7 years old. I would say, first of all, he is the oldest. Second of all, there was the really bad situation he went through. I hate to hold it against him, but it was a very traumatizing situation with him. And he certainly struggled a lot. If he, again, as I've said before, if the Packers feel that he's able, emotionally, physically, mentally able to kind of get back into form like he was with the 49ers, he could be a really good player. But he really only had those 2 years where he was quite good. His last year in Kansas City, he kept getting better every year. Last year with Kansas City was pretty good. San Francisco, he blew up. And then this past year obviously was rough. But I think given the option, I'd probably just avoid that. Byron Murphy is just not a very good football player, in my opinion. Carlton Davis had kind of his first good year really ever with the Lions this past year. I don't know how much I would trust it. And he was very up and down week to week. I mean, his first good year was really mostly bad games with a couple of really good games mixed in. DJ Reed is just a solid football player. So I would probably want to go in that direction. And then you mentioned for D-line, but I mean, we kind of already did this. You mentioned outside linebacker and then D-line, but they're all just edge rushers. DeMarcus Lawrence, Josh Sweat, Chase Young. So I'm just going to stick with Khalil Mack as my answer, if that's all right.
Hey, Ryan. Zach in Buffalo again.
Yep.
Another stupid hypothetical question for you.
All right.
I hope these don't get too annoying.
You're good.
But if you could pick one player in the NFL to bring to the team, but in order to do so, you had to cut. You couldn't trade. Had to cut another one of our starters at a different position. Who would it be and why? Thanks, man. I appreciate all the podcasts and stuff. You have no idea how much entertainment that you and the awesome network you put together, and Clayton and all those guys, just everybody is fantastic. I do greatly appreciate all the entertainment. I'm actually King Tron over on when I hang out with those guys on their podcast. So I appreciate everything. You guys are awesome. And seriously though, I mean, I catch every podcast, every show. I don't miss a minute of content you guys provide, and it's practically all free. So I appreciate the time, the dedication, and the hard work. And I'm also a content creator myself, so I understand all the work that goes into it, man.
Nice.
So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, and all the Packers fans that enjoy your content every day, thank you, dude. And I hope you have a kick-ass off season. See ya.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I don't mean to get all technical if this is not what you meant, but you said cut a player at a different position. Does that mean, like, if I bring in a corner, I can't cut a corner? I don't know if that's what you meant or if that's just kind of came out that way or what. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world for me to do, because the easiest thing would be to bring in a corner and cut Stokes. But if you really did mean that the way that you said it, and starter's tough too, because there's a lot of rotational guys that are technically not given the starter. Like Kingsley Enagbare is technically not a starter, even though he rotates at a 40% rate or something like that. It's relatively high. That does become more difficult. I'm trying to run through it here. You did say I could bring any player that I wanted into, not just like a legitimate like free agent or something. I hate to say that I would replace Jordan, and I know that would piss a lot of people off, so I'll probably just stay away from that. But I mean, it would just very easily solve a question. You could just bring in Josh Allen or something like that, or Lamar or Joe Burrow. But I won't. We'll trust the process here. It would have to be a pass rusher, I would think. So I would probably want to bring in Aidan Hutchinson, because that also takes him away from Detroit. I have to cut it, so I'll cut Stokes. There you go. Bye, Stokes. If he's even considered. He was a starter last year, right? Am I cheating in this little process here? If I have to get rid of a starter at the same position, probably be Lucas Van Ness. Sorry, dog. But, yeah, that's my answer. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got Jared, the Uber driver, also known as Der Trader. We'll be right back.
Howdy, this is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
And I think, I was not expecting the Chiefs to just get pounded into the ground. Oh, my God. And they act a little bit like the Cowboys last year whenever we beat them in the playoffs, with all those garbage time points. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But looking forward, free agency. I think, if they go the route of getting Myles Garrett or Matt Crosby, I'll be ecstatic. Depending on what we trade for, but of course, still be happy. But I think we should go maybe a mixture of Khalil Mack and Chase Young. Get an old and young guy, some more veteran experience. Maybe teach younger guys, especially Lucas Van Ness. And then also maybe pick up who was I thinking? Maybe pick up Jeff Okudah, reinvigorate that Jeff Hafley magic he had at Ohio State with Chase Young, of course. I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Go Pack, go.
Well, I'll just tell you what I've told a lot of people. I think we're going to be aggressive. I just wouldn't, I know Jeff Okudah would be basically free, but, a lot of these lists are getting pretty extensive. I liked it in the day when it was like, I hope we get this guy. Now it's like, it'd be cool if we got this guy and this guy and this guy, to try to do this. And then for this position, we get this guy. And then maybe for this position, we get, it's like, okay, you're going to be pissed. I could be wrong. This could be like 2019 all over again, where it is just a feeding frenzy and the Packers do absolutely everything. It wouldn't actually be that surprising if we did, because we are probably in a better financial situation than we were even that year, and that was the last time that we were in a really good situation. I just don't want to do awesome stuff and for people to be like, well, that wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. I think that sounds like a pretty good plan. I always liked the Jeff Okudah thing. It's probably just not going to work with him, but it sure worked. It sure worked quite well last time he was with Hafley.
Oh, I totally forgot. Added T. Higgins into that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I think that leaves our draft strategy as drafted best player, because I've seen a lot. Of course, they're mock drafts, so we'll never know until the night of the draft. But Shamar Stewart keeps falling to the Packers. I would love to pick him up. I went to Texas A&M for a couple of years, so thanks to Gig'em. But yeah, he's a beast. Or get a corner. Whatever they want to pick up. I think that type of free agency class, maybe not as much Jeff Okudah, and we would still go with a corner. I just don't know if how many other free agency corners there will be, but I think that would help a lot in, freeing up the draft class, even pick up a really good defensive interior player. I know there's a lot of good ones in this class. Actually, what free, of course, a lot of free agents, as you say, will be picked up by their own team anyways, but what defensive interior and corner free agents will there be this year, as far as what you can see? Yeah, that's the question I got. Anyways, go Packers.
Well, we covered the corners a little bit. You've got, let's see, I don't want defensive line, I want defensive tackle. B.J. Hill, D.J. Jones, Sebastian Joseph, Javon Kinlaw, Greg Gaines, Austin Johnson, John Jenkins, Jerry Tillery, Lecky Fotu, Linval Joseph, Kevin Givens, Jonathan Hankin, and about 50 others. So those are the top guys. Top as in they were the highest paid the last time they got paid. I don't know what their current situations are. I didn't realize we were running out of calls here. Let's do Garrett, and then we'll take a break here.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
What's up?
Just calling in with my draft crushes that Omar requested that we call in and give our the guys that we really wish Green Bay had picked and end up passing on. And I won't go into extensive lists, but I've got a few just because, I'm a little bit older and I've experienced quite a few letdowns over the years. And it's not so much that right at the draft point, this was the guy I wanted, but it was just guys that ended up going to other teams that ended up being really good that I knew that Green Bay could have picked them. Mm-hmm. It started out with, it was Joe Montana, because I'm a big Notre Dame fan.
Sure.
I was really hoping that Green Bay would draft him, and they didn't. And so did a lot of other teams pass on him. But the next one is the one that probably hurts the most, and that is Green Bay picking Tony Mandrich and letting Barry Sanders, one of probably the top 3 running backs of all time, go to a division rival. That one just, I can't imagine. It kind of echoes the same thing that what Omar talked about, Randy Moss and Brett Favre. Just imagine Barry Sanders and Brett Favre, because you've got the running game and the passing game. You're going to have to pick one to stop, and then the other one's going to beat you. That one's a big one for me, because that was one guy I actually did want, because he had won the Heisman, and I knew how good he was. And that one hurt. That one hurt. But I wanted to talk about also, Green Bay has passed on guys that I kind of felt like they had an idea just how good this person could be, just because of the brother relation or players that have played before them. And it kind of starts with Sterling Sharp, and knowing how good this guy is, they passed on Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Then you got J.J. Watt. You pass on his brother, T.J. Watt? Look how that turned out. Then you got St. Brown. Now, this one I understand. We had the older brother, and we passed on the younger brother. But I'm like, man, it's like, when it comes to relatives that are playing in the NFL and one's really, really good, how can you justify passing on another one?
Well, we got Kumaro, who I think is a cousin of the Bosas. Doesn't that count? All right, we'll take a break. We got 3 more calls. We'll rip through those, and then we're caught up. So I'm not sure. We'll see if we have enough for tomorrow. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan. Goose here.
What's up, man?
Just calling in. I was listening to people talk about the halftime show and your take on what it's been like recently, and I gotta agree. And the whole modern art thing, that the marshmallow dance and the banana on the wall. You know what that art is? It's the art of how much smoke can you blow up someone's back end.
Yeah.
That is what that is. You cannot.
Come back to me, Goose.
Thanks.
Hang in there. Oh, we're losing him pretty bad here.
That's the whole conversation. As far as halftime acts, someone like an Iron Maiden, they put on a great show.
Yeah.
Korn, Limp Bizkit.
Sure.
That kind of amp you up kind of music.
And again, like I said, some people will retort, well, no music is for everybody. Kendrick's got a larger current fan base probably than Korn does, so it makes more sense. I understand that, but again, there are objective standards that you can use. Not everything is objective. A lot of music is subjective, but there are objective things. And when you look at a performance, there are certain things that are objectively good and certain things that are objectively not good, right? I mean, let's just take, for example, some people might like Yoko Ono screaming into a microphone, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't say that there are some objective standards of what good music is, and that's not really it. On top of that, there's, if there's no other things going on around them that are entertaining, when you look at the quote unquote dancers, the choreography that's not entertaining. Who's entertained by that? Who's looking at people stand in a straight line and bob their head and go, wow, that really moves me? It's stupid. People laying on a lamp pole. What is that supposed to do for me? In what way is that entertaining to anybody? It's not entertaining. It's just, the whole thing is silly to me that we can't, we're not allowed to acknowledge that there are objective standards, and that, even if, like I've said, even if you're not a fan of the music, you have the ability to say that was objectively a good job of putting on a performance. And I don't think they've done a good job of putting on a performance. I think they get the most popular person, and then they go hire some random choreographer to have like 100 people flail around in a really weird and awkward way, and then they call it a successful performance. And it's like, that was stupid. I don't understand why you did that. I mean, I kind of understand getting like the biggest current artist. That makes sense to some degree in a very lazy, shallow fashion. But I mean, there are, you could say, yes, Korn has a smaller audience and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily like it, but there's if you were to look at it, you could say perhaps, depending on what they wanted to put on, they could put on just a good performance. They could put on a good show, and maybe it's a little too heavy. You could find somebody a little bit more toned down. But that should be part of the equation. What does it mean to put on a good show? How do you put on a good performance for people? And let's strive for that. Because this whole thing about let's just go find the biggest person and then hire a choreographer, pay for a bunch of dancers to come out and do this just stupid choreography that adds nothing whatsoever, other than we just don't want this awkward thing with one guy standing there doing a performance by himself. Fine, I acknowledge you don't want that, but you have to be able to think of something better than this. Every year, is it going to be like this? Because it's not enjoyable. You can't tell me there's anybody that's like, oh, the weird movements, body movements that people did, that was my favorite part. What?
Guar. Guar was a great show.
Yes. I will never hear Guar and not think of Beavis and Butthead.
They need to try back people who are showmen to put on a great show. Maybe they won't be the most intricate, high-minded music. I listen to a lot of prog, a lot of metal, prog rock, prog jazz. That's very conceptual, and if you can enjoy it without knowing what's happening, but if you know music, it's very much like a thinking type of genre. I don't sit there and go, yeah, that's what I want at the Supertime halftime show. Well, Meshuggah would be cool, but that's a whole different thing. The point is that they've lost the plot with the halftime shows, and they really need to be thinking more about who's a good show more than just what's the popular name.
Right.
It's all about who it's going to bring in the dollars. So that's why it's on.
Yeah, I don't like to cut off Goose because he's calling in from Canada, and these foreigners, they gotta pay extra money to call in here, so we appreciate them. Thank you for that. And I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, can we just use 10% of our brain power? I mean, you can have the artist. Fine, keep the same artist. That's fine. Let him do whatever music he wants. Can we try to find creative ways to make this entertaining? Is there any way we can do that? Can we maybe bring in some other artists from different genres and they can do a collaboration kind of thing to kind of be, oh man, and really appeal to other people? Could we, with the Kendrick thing, is there any way that we could, in some kind of a creative, artistic way, or maybe just a way that's not stupid, maybe bring people up to speed on what's going on, again, I'm not telling you exactly how. If I could come up with it in 5 seconds off the top of my head, it wouldn't be what I'm asking for. That's kind of the point. People do that all the time. Well, what's your idea? I don't have an idea. If it was that simple to come up with an idea in 5 seconds, it's not a very good idea. I mean, I don't think I'm asking too much. Let's try to find some extremely intelligent people, and let's see if they can come up with something, because there is so much money in this, and there are so many people involved, and you're telling me that with all the money and all the brain power that you spend that money on, this is all you can come up with. Let's just throw money at the guy at the top of the charts. You all suck at your job if that's the best you can do. Because I have little children in my house that could do that. I feel like that should be a standard. If we're dealing with millions of dollars, the first question is, could my 4-year-old pull this off? If the answer to that question is yes, then you don't work here anymore.
Ryan, I think I might have a solution to the quandary that is the NFL halftime show.
All right.
My idea is that you have a battle of the bands.
There you
so,
go.
Hear me out. You have at least 2 different, very in-demand, popular musicians, and you have them both play at halftime, one following the other, and you have people voting who they like best. But on top of that, the voting, you have, when you call in and you make a vote, it's a pay per vote. And that money that they bring in can go to an NFL charity. Then they can start seeing who is calling in and voting for these bands and seeing who's winning, and let the demographic of people that are watching the game determine who they like best. So basically just let the people vote. It determines who was a better halftime show. But give us more options. Give us 2 different bands. I mean, I am definitely one of those that, hey, Prince to me was one of the best ever. I never did buy his records, but
no, same.
He was a very talented musician. And what we watched last Sunday, I feel like you get a couple of Coronas in me, and I could do some mumble jumble into a microphone that may or may not, be better than what we heard. It's just my opinion, but there are definitely some very, very talented musicians out there. So let's let those guys play it off and let NFL charities be the benefactor of it. Just an idea.
Well, I like the, we might have to flesh it out a little bit, but I like the idea from the standpoint of, one of the biggest retorts, which all the retorts are just lazy, is, number one, well, you can't please everybody, so somebody's always going to be upset, so just shut up. The idea being, again, and this is what I hate when people do this crap, is sort of this idea that there are no good solutions, there's no perfect solution, everything is equally valid, so just be quiet. Okay, how about this? We'll do Garrett's plan, and we'll see. And I have a feeling there will be a consensus, and the consensus will be something like this. Kendrick Lamar would not win that competition. Kendrick Lamar would have come in probably last or close to last place, and then a bunch of other people that the Kendrick fans like, and all the people saying, stop your whining, they would find out that there are actually good solutions, and people would, not 100%, but at a higher percentage, which is the point. It's not a question of 100% or consensus. It's a question of percentages. If you bring out a band that 20% of the people like, not saying that was the case in the Super Bowl show, but let's just say it's a stupid argument to say, well, you can't make everybody happy, so just shut up. It's the same people whining every year. No, it's not. Those same people will tell you. They'll give you an example like Prince or like the Blues Brothers or whatever of really good entertaining halftime shows, ZZ Top. They will not have a problem with that. So the question is, can we bump the numbers up? If somebody 20% of the people like, and somebody 50% of the people like, and somebody 85% of the people like, guess what? The 85 was better. And we need to start working in that direction. It's not a good retort to say, well, you can't make everybody happy, so just shut up. It's not an argument, because that's it's a straw man argument, because nobody is saying that everybody has to be happy in order for it to be a good show. Nobody made that argument. What you need to stop doing is pretending that there are no objective standards and everything is perfectly equal. That way I can just do whatever I want and everything's fine. It's just lazy argumentation.
Howdy, this is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas.
So
I was just listening to the After Dark about them talking more about the halftime show and stuff, and I agree with you. That was a mediocre one. I mean, the whole beef is kind of funny. I didn't know there was a beef until one of my friends was just like, "Yo, that's hilarious," and he kept saying things like the meme of him like smiling and walking at the camera. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes more sense why you keep saying that." But I just wanted to give my 2 cents, not just about the music in general. I know I'm not in the industry or anything. I only got as far as doing choir, and also at one point I was invited to join a band, but then unfortunately that had to stop because one of our band members actually died. So kind of sad day. This was like
not good.
A decade ago though. Actually, I would also love some prayers for my wife. Unfortunately, on February 7th, she lost her best friend, who was actually murdered by her ex-fiance. Yeah, pretty dark stuff. Almost sounds like a TV show, but
sorry to hear that.
Or movie. But yeah, no, it's crazy. If anybody wants details, he shot her 15 times. But yeah, I hope she's doing all right, but could use the prayers. Thank you so much. Back to the music. Country would be good for the halftime show. I also would, if they go back to rap, I would love to see if they would do NF. I feel like he would be pretty good. I mean, some new people that might be pretty good for a halftime show, maybe like the Kid Leroy, or what's his name, or no, her name, maybe Sabrina Carpenter. But as far as like something I really want to see, I would love to see like Fall Out Boy do a halftime show. Like, I know they probably wouldn't, but like I feel like they would put on a good show. I don't know about my favorite band anymore. My favorite band is Linkin Park. I don't know if they would put on as good of a show, but anyways, that's my 2 cents. Y'all have a good day. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, and like, again, just to demonstrate that it's not anti-Kendrick, because I don't care about it. And I saw somebody posted like Ludacris, I think it was. I don't remember, but that was an example of, and it's exactly what I said. There's the quality of the music, which I'm not just talking about the subjective nature of it, but how it sounds in a live setting. And I do think what I said held up. You could tell it doesn't sound as good when it's live. It just didn't sound the same. It doesn't sound like the studio produced thing, but they put on a good show. And there's also the question of like the type of music. It's just fun music. So they came out, they played the hits, the radio hits that everybody's been listening to, that everybody knows, unlike Kendrick Lamar, where it's like, I don't know these songs at all. I know the one song, that's it. Dun, 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 right? Okay, I heard that 1,000 times. Didn't know where it came from, but I've heard it before. It's the social media for you. But, these are massive hits that everybody's been dancing to forever. Does it sound as good when it's actually being rapped live into a microphone? No, but it's still fun. It still sounds good enough. It's a good performance. It's whatever. So I'm not saying it can't be done with rap, because it can, and it has. I think even like the just what, like 2 years ago when they had like all the big stars like Snoop and Eminem and like all, like that was pretty cool just because it was all the guys and they're playing the, some of the biggest rap hits of all time. That in and of itself was pretty cool. So it's not that you can't do rap, but I just think you got to understand what you're doing. And most people have called in and said, I just don't think the Kendrick thing worked for a lot of reasons. Most people don't know the inside story. Most people don't know these songs. The sound quality was not as good because it's not a produced in a lab thing, so it just didn't sound great. The entertainment value of it was basically zero. Nobody cares about choreography. It's not an interesting, fun thing to watch. It's just not. I don't know who told these people that choreography is like a fun thing. They're like cheerleaders at a football game. They serve no purpose at all. But I'm not a big Fall Out Boy fan, but I could see where that could be a good entertainment. I think Linkin Park, obviously they don't have the singer anymore, but the main singer, the original singer. But I could see that being a heck of a show. Country, I don't really like country. I like, any country that I like is probably the stuff that people say is not real country, which is fine. But I could possibly see that working, depending. I mean, I don't know the artists. I don't know who they are, but I'm sure there are some that have some popular songs that could put on a good show. But yeah, like I said, it just was not a very well thought out thing. I mean, tell me what about this was thought out, other than just throwing money at the biggest star they can find, and then paying a choreographer. I mean, Kendrick had to do work on his part to kind of orchestrate this thing, to figure out how he's going to do it, how he's going to attack whatever. I've heard he attacked Drake, he attacked the media, he attacked America. I've heard all kinds of theories. So he had to figure out how he's going to, be a douchebag to everybody and whatnot. So congrats on all the deep thinking that went on there. But for most of us just sitting down waiting to be entertained, I think it was a big flop. And I would love to know, again, from the NFL standpoint, what did they do? I don't know. Didn't seem like very much. They tried. I would just call this one a swing and a miss. And again, not the worst I've seen. There have been way worse Super Bowl halftime shows. There have been a lot of bad ones lately. Some good ones. I think part of it is I'm annoyed with how much they're ramping up the stupidity. Like I think it was The Weeknd when he did it. And again, the musical value I think was higher with that because they had really big songs. They were fun songs. But was he the one that ran through the mirror maze? That was stupid. Like what are you doing? I don't understand. Like just doing random things is not make something artistic or entertaining. And I feel like that's what we do is we just do random stupid crap. I don't understand why you're doing that. I don't think you understand why you're doing that. How much time, energy, effort, and money went into this idea? I mean, is it just that we're all kind of stupid? And so since we're all kind of stupid and creativity is just a lost art, that we just started doing stupid things and calling it creative because otherwise we would have to acknowledge that we're just not a very creative people anymore and that our IQ is just plummeted? Is that where we're at? Have we just become a completely stupid group of human beings that don't want to admit it or try to acknowledge it or address it and say, hey, we should try to be more creative and smart? And instead, I don't know if this is just the everybody gets a trophy thing, where we just have untalented, uncreative people in positions of creating, and this is the result. I guess that's what's happened when you decide meritocracy is not the greatest way to go about doing things, and that everybody's a special snowflake and a special flower, and everybody is brilliant and a genius, and you can do anything you want, and then you end up with like week one of American Idol, from back in the day when it's just people that can't sing, that have been told their whole lives that they're great singers and believe that they are the next great pop star, and they are the worst singers in the world. Except we've magnified that now, where we have people in positions of prestige where they can charge millions of dollars to do things, and everyone's watching it like, did a child put this together? I don't know. I don't really understand it. Anyways, again, we are officially out of calls, so we will see if we have enough by tomorrow. Otherwise, I will just catch you when I catch you. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.